Shabbat Shalom. We Jews often point to the Torah as the source of our religious practices. In doing so, we make the case that our rituals and rites are ancient and possibly even divine in origin. Yet, much of the way we observe Judaism today is derived not from the Torah, but from our rabbis. In particular, the rabbis who engaged in the discussions and debates throughout the early Middle Ages, mostly in Babylonia. These rabbis set our calendar, the holidays, our liturgy, and began the codification of Jewish law. If I could transport myself back in time to be present at these discussions, I might be able to get an answer to something I've been puzzling over for a while. Rosh Hashanah, which we will celebrate in just a few days, is the beginning of the Jewish calendar year. The Torah reading cycle we follow is an annual one. Each year we read the Torah from the beginning to the end. By the way, this was a change implemented in Babylonia from the previous practice in Israel, where it took 3 years to get through the Torah. The holiday dedicated to the end and the beginning of the Torah cycle is Simchat Torah. This holiday, not referenced in the Torah, is a late addition to the Jewish calendar from around the 11th century. Simchat Torah was set by the rabbis to be celebrated at the tail end of the holiday of Sukkot. Here's my question. Why didn't the rabbis, the ones who set the calendar and the schedule of the Torah reading, align the Torah reading calendar with the new year? Shouldn't the end of the year be when we conclude the Torah, and Rosh Hashanah be when we start the book of Genesis? This change would complete the alignment between the calendar, our liturgy, and our holidays. Why didn't the rabbis think of this? Brilliant, right? Presumably, the rabbis did consider this option and chose not to pursue it, leading me to wonder if maybe there's a logic to their decision that my search for simple alignment is missing. This week, we read from Parashat Nitzavim. It is the first of the 4 final parashiyot in the Torah. Between now and Simchat Torah, we will experience Moses' final words of blessing for the children of Israel. We will be reminded of his punishment, forcing him to die before entering the promised land. And we will recall that despite our 40 years of wandering in the desert, the Israelites do not set foot on their eponymous land within the verses of the book of Deuteronomy. If we think of the new year as a time of promise and opportunity, a good time to write resolutions and not yet break them, a time to reconsider our behaviors and commit to acting better in the year ahead, the end of the book of Deuteronomy is a downer. It isn't a perfect and happy ending. Beyond the Israelites' pain of longing for a land they cannot yet enter, or the loss they experience in the death of their beloved leader, the last chapters of the book of Deuteronomy seal off a doorway, a path of spirituality and faith that will never be accessible again to the Israelites or the Jewish people. Moses was the Ish Elohim, the man of God, described in the Torah as the most humble of men. For him, God was close. They spoke to each other face to face, not in a dream or a vision. It was Moses' pleading on behalf of our people that kept God's wrath at bay. When God buried Moses, God buried intimacy with the Israelites. The loss of this gateway to God could have been a crushing blow to our people. The Bible could have ended right here at the book of Deuteronomy. We might have never entered the land of Israel or conquered it. We might have never known Kings David and Solomon, never celebrated the holiday of Purim, known the beauty of the Psalms. Yet the final parshiot of the book of Deuteronomy are not about despair. Rather, they prepare us for the post-Moses era. They challenge us to own our own religion, to engage our spirituality, to take responsibility for our behavior. Maybe that is the right message for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Not having an intermediary to call upon, to call on God or to carry our blame is not the end of a relationship with God. It's the beginning of a mature relationship. We have progressed from a nation of slaves to a nation of leaders. The message of our parashah Nitzavim is for us to cherish our agency in this relationship with God. Ki hamitzvah hazot asher anochi metzavcha hayom lo nifleta hi mimcha v'lo rechoka hi. Surely, this instruction which I enjoin upon you this day is not too baffling for you, nor is it beyond your reach. Lo bashamayim hi lemor, mi ya'aleh lanu hashamayim v'yikacheha lanu v'yashmi'enu ota v'na'asena. It is not in the heavens that you should say, who among us can go up to the heavens and get it for us and impart it to us, that we may observe it? Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who among us can cross to the other side of the sea and get it for us and impart it to us, that we may observe it? No, the thing is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart, to observe it. When I cast around for an image of the powerful and strong individuals who are not deterred by heights or depths to access precisely what they need for themselves and their families from God or from the world around them, a picture of my mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and possibly the matriarchs in your family as well are who I imagine. These are women who have agency and are not easily deterred. There's a tradition that illustrates my point. Historically, in European communities, women would prepare Yom Kippur candles for the synagogue sanctuary. These candles would burn 25 hours for the entire holy day. To start the process of making the candles, they would take their ball of twisted cotton and head to the cemetery, where they would measure its perimeter with a thread, the distance around forming the wick. Then, entering the cemetery, they would measure the graves of their loved ones. Surprising, strange, right? Not really. These women were taking charge of their and their families' futures. They would not be afraid of making demands of their dearly departed. Their loved ones in heaven would be set to task. They have a job to do, to plead with God on behalf of the living. Our matriarchs would say as much in their prayers that they recited while measuring. I have a mama, tzaitele. For her soul, a knaitele, a candle wick. The thread is spun strong, long, long. Keeping the thread intact was a goal in this process, and the strength of the thread was integrated into their prayers. Master of the universe, since we both pulled the thread with all our powers, and the thread did not break, shall all evil powers come to naught. The dear child's life shall also not break and be cut short, God forbid. But when it did break, that too became a prayer. As the thread breaks, so shall the sufferer's illness be broken. These techinot, women's prayers in Yiddish, and the rituals that accompanied them are only one example of the way we as Jews now and throughout our history take ownership of our relationship with the divine. That is what this Torah portion, Nitzavim, demands of us on the doorstep of the new year. Life and death have I placed before you, blessing and curse. Uvacharta b'chaim. You choose life, in order that you live, you and your descendants. May this new year bring with it renewed pride, power, and strength for each of us in this community and beyond. May we own and cherish our Jewish identities and our relationship with the divine. Amen.